Hello, this video is going to talk about some of my favorite Gnome add-ons. So the way to do it is you first open your browser and head to the Gnome Shell Extensions webpage. Once you're there, there's a bunch of instructions for two things you need to do. First is install this Chrome add-on. Of course, it's available for Firefox as well, but here I'm installing the add-on for Chrome. Just a few clicks and yeah, it's installed. Now go back to the shell extensions page. It's going to tell you the connector is missing. So now all we have to do is go to the instructions page, go down to the instructions for Ubuntu, and there we go. So that's that one package that we need to install using Synaptic or apt-get install, and there we are. So once this is installed, all I need to do is go back to the browser, and once it's installed, it should be sufficient to just refresh the browser and see that it's able to detect it. So there we go. So now installed extensions is showing up blank, so which means that there are no installed instructions. So let's go find some extensions. So the first one, one of the useful ones, is disconnect Wi-Fi. So there you go, you find it and just enable. You should get this prompt. Click on install and it should install in the background. There we go. So now that disconnect button shows up there. So that's working. Next one that I want to look for is called do not disturb extension. It basically snoozes or mutes all your notifications and puts a little icon in the top bar. So there it is. Again, fairly straightforward. Just click the enable button, sign up, enable it, and yeah, so that bell icon shows you a number of notifications and you can just click it to mute or silence all notifications. So the next one I'd like to do is called open weather. That's the weather forecast in the top bar. Again, super useful. It also shows you things like wind speed, humidity, sunset, sunrise times, and whatnot. So as you can see, by default it's showing up temperature in Fahrenheit. So let's change that. So settings, you need to add the location first. So first of all, you need to add the current location, which happens to be Bangalore. Just type the name in and wait for it to find it. So sometimes there's this weird bug. If it doesn't find it, all you have to do is click on find. Just close it, open it, and then click on find, then it works. I'm not sure why that happens. So there you go. So now we've added the right location. We can remove that default Tuvalu. Pretty straightforward. Just change the units to Celsius and anything else you want to do. So there we are. So that's the weather applet all set. So now the next thing I want is world clocks in my top panel. So that extension is called panel world clock. Now you see there are two of these. So the newer versions of Gnome need that panel world clock Lite. But before we can do that, we need to install this Gnome-Clocks from apt-get or Synaptic. And once that's installed, you need to launch Gnome-Clocks and then add a few clocks, a few cities. So let's add Geneva. There we go. And now we see the current time there. Close, and then we enable the add-on. So once that is enabled, the clock should show up in the panel. There you go. So the only downside is, or the slightly annoying part is, that it doesn't show you the city. It shows you the name of the time zone, for instance CEST. If you want to add more time zones, all you need to do is go back, add them in Gnome-Clocks, and automatically they show up there. And if you want to, if you click on it, it shows you what city, and then you can actually move them and reorder them if you want. It's not very intuitive sometimes, but that's how the reordering works. So the next one is refresh Wi-Fi, which is again useful because if you are connected to a Wi-Fi network, there is no real easy way to refresh all connections. So again, quick install. It should be done in a few seconds. There you go, and then you can you get that little button which allows you to refresh. There we go. The next add-on that I want to install, very useful again, is called the recent items add-on. So again, it's a fairly standard stable add-on. All you have to do is find it, install it, and it should work just straight out of the box. And what that does is it gives you that little clock icon in the top right, and that's your recent items. And by the way, the other useful thing is it allows you to clear your recent items history from there as well. The next one I want to do is removable drives. It's not too great, but it's quite useful. Again, gives you a little shortcut in the top right, which will give you access to all your removable drives. So I don't have anything plugged in right now. Let me see if I can find a removable drive. There we go. So now let me plug one in, and yeah, there you go. So now this icon shows up. That's my USB drive. It's called green. That's the volume label, and that shows up. Next extension that I want to install is called the sound input device chooser, which is extremely useful if you've got multiple sound devices, maybe the 3.5 mm jack or Bluetooth or HDMI. So now we'll get a selector in the status menu. There you go. So now we are able to change the inputs. So the other one is suspend button. This may not be useful for I believe Ubuntu 20.04 onwards, where the panel buttons have been changed a little bit, so you don't really need that. The other one is of course a VPN indicator. This may or may not work depending on what kind of VPN you are using, so your mileage may vary, so just give it a try. This does work for Cisco Open Connect most of the time, but may not work for other VPN. The next one I want to install is called let me see. It's called the app indicator, which allows apps to put a little bit of an icon in the top bar. It's similar to what the old Ubuntu used to have, or Mate desktop environment has. So you need to install this add-on, and in addition you need to install or you need to enable all these tweaks. So that's the final thing. So a couple of things I need to do: enable icons on the desktop, extensions are all installed, fonts are fine. If you have a high DPI monitor, you may want to change scaling factor, but I don't need to do that. Then startup applications, let's see, Remina, that can stay for the time being. And then in the top bar, I generally enable battery percentage, and then I generally sometimes want date and my week numbers and seconds as well. So that's what it gives you. Then under Windows, everything seems to be okay. We don't want attach modal dialogues. That's very, very annoying. So we want that to be off. For the rest, everything looks okay. Maximize and minimize buttons, we want them on, and we want them to be in the top right corner. So enable those. And workspaces, all default settings are fine for me. So now the notifier add-on caused that little OBS icon which is my screen recorder that I'm using now. So now let's go down to settings. What I want to do is fix the alt tab behavior, which is a little annoying, I find. So you go down to keyboard, go down to shortcuts, and we are going to change the switch windows shortcut. It should be somewhere around here. There we go. Switch windows. So right now it's disabled. I'm not sure why it's not allowing me to edit it. There we go. So now I want to change this to alt tab, and it's already being used for switch applications. So I'm going to go to switch applications and change that to Windows tab or super tab. So essentially what this will do is that alt tab behaves like it used to. Now I'm going to open, let's say, 2 terminal windows. Now alt tab is going to give me this behavior, basically list all the windows, and Windows tab or super tab is going to give me that original behavior that I had. So that's it. Thank you.